Hello everyone, Larry, WD0AKX. Thought I'd give you a little peek at a Bearcat 4, Bearcat Electra scanner from 1978. This one was manufactured in Cumberland, Indiana. It's a crystal type scanner, and I now have possession of this thanks to my good friend Dave Jackson out in New Hampshire. Thanks a lot, Dave, for donating this radio to my scanner and radio collection here. It is in very nice shape, and it is working. I did have some crystals around here from years ago that pertain to my area, some amateur radio crystals and a couple public service frequencies. Most of the public service in this area went digital now, but I can monitor some of the ham frequencies. As the volume and squelch, I'll zoom up a little here. Your volume control and the squelch control, and it has the scan or manual switch. And what you could do with this, if you clicked it down in the manual, you could either lock it onto one certain channel or move it to another channel. The switch is contacts are a little dirty. I need to clean that. As you can see, it doesn't always move steadily there. Or you can leave it in the scan position. And if you didn't have all the channels occupied with crystals, it's 8 channels it's capable of, you could lock some of the channels out. Or if you just wanted to monitor certain channels for that day or whatever, you could just have it scan those channels. That's basically how that works. Alright, we'll give you a look at the back of it here. Has the, turn on another light here. Has the manufacture date of February 15th, 1978. The serial number is 444257. And has the external antenna connector here, Motorola style, if you want to hook an external antenna. And let's go ahead and remove the cover so I can show you the insides here. It does have the telescopic whip antenna here that screws on. So you go ahead and remove that. And then there's one screw on the bottom here, which I already removed. And plug the power. I believe it's AC or DC capable depending on the power plug you use, and the back will slide off just like that. Alright, as you can see here, this is a row of crystals, and I did replace it. Had some crystals in it. I went ahead and replaced them with some crystals that I had on hand. And what you would do, this radio is capable of low band VHF, high band VHF, or the UHF band. So there's a row of switches here for each crystal that you would insert into each channel bank, or into each channel. You would set the switch accordingly to either low, high, or UHF, depending on which band the crystal was set up for, and that would switch in the appropriate circuitry there. I notice on my crystals are aged quite a bit. From doing some testing here, a lot of them seem like they're off frequency a little ways, and they're a little distorted sounding. So I'm not sure if it's the crystals that are off or the circuitry here, the capacitors that have changed in the unit itself. But I'm going to see if I can pull some of those crystals on frequency with some capacitors in the circuit. I haven't analyzed or looked at that circuit very well yet to see what I could do. I could probably bring the crystals on frequency with some tricks with capacitors there. So basically, you have the RF input section to the radio, and I don't know if I can get the lighting a little better here. There we go, that might help. The RF input section from the antenna here, and the oscillator section, and the receiver IF stage, and some filtering here, and then the audio amp section over on this side. Now there's a built-in speaker, and I'll show you the other side here. And this transformer's a little loose. I need to tighten up those screws. They're a little loose there. It became loose over the years. That's the power transformer to convert the AC to the DC voltage needed for the radio. Now over here it looks like the audio amp IC has been replaced before. By the looks of the solder on it and the flux left. So the audio amp, that's kind of a common thing that heats up, so wherever you got heat, you're gonna have failure there sooner or later. So it looks like it's been replaced, but right now everything seems to be working fine. So that's the old scanner from the 1970s, and still seems to work fine. They were built fairly decent and held up good over the years. Here's the bottom side of the board. There's that audio amp I was telling you about. Soldering does not look very good on there. I'm going to take and reflow that, clean that up, and tighten the screws here. Here's the row of crystals I was telling you about, and the switches for each crystal. There's the RF section. Over to the IF and the filtering, and back to the audio section. It does have some electrolytic capacitors, which it'd be a good idea to replace, I would say. They're fairly aged. So other than that, like I say, it's working. Don't you just love those flashing lights? Flashing LED lights. Nothing better than that, right? This is a very common scanner in the 70s and 80s, and if you're interested in scanners like this, I also did a video, it's down on my list a ways now, on my Bearcat Electra Bearcat 101, and that was a synthesized type radio, or programmable. Didn't have to use crystals, and that was a big thing back at the time. That was made approximately the same time that this radio here was made also, but that was much more expensive. So a lot of people stuck with these crystal types for many years if you only had a certain amount of channels you want to monitor most of the time. So thanks for watching. 7.3 from WD0AKX.